Hey guys, Serpa here. I've been spending some time reading this book, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, and it is amazing. And I have some things that I'd like to share with you here. I just had a great conversation with my friend Andrew, who just got done, or is getting close to wrapping up his reading of The Alchemist. He's borrowed my copy, and we were having a really interesting conversation about fear. And really, what is fear? Why are we afraid of these things? Why are we afraid of shooting for our goals? Why are we afraid of defining what our goals are? And I think that the biggest thing that we start living by is these cages that we build for ourselves. You can decide what you want. Abandon fear. What can people take from you? What can you really stand to lose for yourself? Can they take your brain? Are you going to die? I have never been in a situation where I have completely understood fear in business. People say to me all the time, they say, David Serpa, you get after business very courageously, and it's because I don't understand fear. I have a reason. And so I operate my business out of integrity versus running my business out of fear. Okay, so getting into that. Understanding goals. So often we get wrapped up in these big astronomical goals where we're talking about Lamborghinis and we're talking about mansions and we're talking about all of these different things. And then we find that when we get there, we are absolutely empty when we are there. And what I would like to tell you is that when these people, so there's a chapter in The Alchemist, and they get to the pyramids and they say, oh, there's no gold here. And these men are disappointed because there's not gold at the pyramids. But it is because they were seeking the gold. The other guy was seeking the journey of going to seek the pyramids. And so remember not to get so lost in your goals that you're pushing yourself so hard that you lose your enjoyment of the presence. So that's taking The Alchemist, applying it to Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, and also looking at the 4-hour work week. You get to choose how you operate every day. Stop putting off your enjoyment, your balance, your time with your family, your time with yourself, learning to play the piano, all of these different things. Stop putting these off because you don't have to make $1 million to do these things. You have to work a little bit less. You have to find a better balance in your life. Okay, so, which brings me to what are the real goals? When you take a man and you put him in a foxhole, when you take a man or a woman and you put them into a concentration camp, and you remove them from their family, you shave off all of their hair, even their eyebrows, you put them into a situation where immediately 90% of them are sent to the gas chambers. The other 10% of them are immediately shaved, put into showers, and are dehumanized. What Viktor Frankl, who was a leader in thought, who would have been quoted right there along with Freud and whatnot, who, thought that men were being ran by their, desire for all of these different crazy things. Frankl shows that when he was in a concentration camp, when he was surviving Auschwitz, he was concerned with the man to the left and to the right of him, and with simple things like his next meal, getting through another day, cigarettes, things like that. Does that sound familiar to any combat vets out there? Cigarettes, getting through the day, and the man to the left and right of you. So my new practice has been urging people to practice Zen business. How much is enough? How much is too much? Are you concerned with the man to the left and to the right of you? With getting through another day, and with maybe having a smoke at the end of the day? Everything else is everything else. Enjoy your family. Enjoy the time that you have here. Now I would like to go into the way that you make people feel. And then I'm going to wrap this up here. Okay? What he remembers most in his time at the concentration camp as the biggest insult was not doing things like cleaning out latrines or being dehumanized and being put in these terrible situations to where he was being forced to essentially fight for his life. It was working on I think it was a railroad track, and having a rock thrown at him. Instead of being yelled at or being communicated with words, instead of doing that, the person picked up a rock and threw it at him, even though he was working hard and he just happened to turn around when he was leaning on that. He remembered the way that it made him feel. It made him feel less than human. So it wasn't being looked at and being sent off to a hard labor camp or being sent off to his death. It was working hard, taking a moment to breathe, having the guard turn around and see that moment, and then instead of saying, hey, get back to work, throwing a rock at him, treating him less than he would treat an animal. And so those are the moments that stuck with him. He also remembers, what was the second example that I was going to tell you? He was working and he was digging again, and he had this guy look at him, and he says, you pig, I've been watching you the whole time. I'll teach you to work. Wait till you dig dirt with your teeth. You'll die like an animal. In 2 days, I'll finish you off. You've never done a stroke of work in your life. What were you, swine? A businessman? I was past caring, but I had to take this threat of killing me seriously, so I straightened up and looked him directly in the eye. I was a doctor, a specialist. What, a doctor? I bet you got a lot of money out of people. As it happens, I did most of my work for no money at all, in clinics for the poor. But now I had said too much. He threw himself on me and knocked me down, shouting like a madman. I can no longer remember what he shouted. This is the lesson that I wanted to bring out today. Never sacrificing your integrity. The reason why people like Viktor Frankl got through eventually, and the thing is, there was a lot of, it was chance and it was luck, but he never gave up hope, never allowed himself to feel about himself as less than an animal. You cannot always choose these things that happen to you, but you can absolutely choose the way in which you respond to them, the way in which you act, and the way in which you feel about yourself. So what I would like to encourage you to do, stand up when you need to stand up. Say, that's not me. And then understand, at the end of your life, if someone is looking at you and they're pointing a gun at you and they're telling you to dig, and that they'll make you get on your knees and dig with your teeth, and they ask you who you were before all of this, who can you say that you were? Do you get to say that you were a doctor? Do you get to say that you were a man of principle? Do you get to say that you were a man of character? And when you say these things, will they be the truth? That's my lesson in Zen business for the day. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Today we talked about The Alchemist. We talked about man's search for meaning, lessons in a concentration camp, and we talked about a third book, which is escaping me currently, The 4-Hour Work Week. I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. Some lessons are bought with blood. We can either listen to these lessons and choose the way in which we live the rest of our lives, or we can fall victim to the circumstances. There's this great article that was written. It's called 5 Lessons Learned from the Deathbed, or something like that. Those are the lessons that I strongly suggest that you learn now, while you still have time. Who are you now, and would you be proud of that person when it comes time to stand up for who you were, if you were ever put in a dehumanizing situation? Are you proud of the way that you lived your life today? That's your only goal. I'm going to live my life today in a way that I will be proud of at the end of the day. The warrior lives an entire lifetime in a day. Be present. That's it. Appreciate you guys watching.